Smith, student at Missouri Western, theater person, writes depressing plays. It's fine.
He's an artist.
Yeah, the life of an artist. And I have with me some friends.
Ben and friends.
Ben and friends, yes.
Ben and friends.
This should be cool.
If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
My name is Nathan Gonder. I'm an actor and a filmmaker at Missouri Western State University in Missouri.
The West Part.
The West End.
I am Alexis Meyer. I'm an animation student at the same school. Currently doing animation homework.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Rachel Segbawu. I'm a theater major here at Missouri Western State University. Wow, look at that. I'm currently making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
It's a fun time.
Really hope they could hear the knife on the bread.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or me crunching my lettuce.
get that Foley.
It's the sound of shaving a face.
I can't, damn it.
And today we're going to talk about this is a first time thing, maybe it'll become a more common thing if this is fun enough.
Oh, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Talk about less heavy issues. So it's a common thing among us theater kids that we make like suicide and depression jokes. Arts kids in general.
Jokes? Jokes?
Jokes.
You guys are joking?
You're kidding?
Are we supposed to be joking? Oh shit.
Let me put this razor blade down.
Me too! I am a
I
human.
went right into it.
But and before coming here, I always thought it was like a really niche thing, and then everyone was making jokes about it. I'm like, huh, that's really cool.
Maybe I'll start smoking.
Maybe. Oh man.
Cigarettes, of course.
The legal stuff.
Yeah.
In Missouri.
In Missouri. But yeah, and so it's sometimes we talk about serious things and how like we actually have like suicidal thoughts and depression.
Oh yeah.
And it's a bit more like common than a lot of people like to think. And just to show that with some like little simple statistics that I pulled from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention on their little whole website, it said in 2015 there were 44,193 deaths reported deaths by suicide.
If people don't have an idea, that's half the size of the second largest city in Missouri. That's yeah.
And you got to remember, like that's reported, and the ones that
that's
actually
reported.
happened. You know, imagine for just approximating here, like every one of those, there's probably like 4 or 5 more like attempts or self-harm cases.
And just imagine the people that go missing, that are just presumed missing, that have actually killed themselves. You know.
Yeah, another statistic that had on the website is that the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. and the second among specifically the age range of 15 to 39 years old is suicide. And that more Americans suffer from depression than coronary heart disease, cancer, and HIV/AIDS combined.
Yeah. I don't feel special anymore.
No?
I have other redeeming qualities.
Me look for other special things about my character, like my plaid scarf.
I've got a great personality.
Hey.
Yeah.
that's.
Flag.
Oh, cool.
You're the odd one out, Alexis.
Oh man.
But yeah, and
Why do you
so
think
like-
that is? Why do you think that is? That it's so high, like
It's-
depression in general.
It's one of those. Not a lot of people feel. I think it's one of those things where you don't know about it first, and then you start learning about it. And like, huh, that sounds like something I might have, you know. And then you just don't ever talk to anyone about it, and that's when, because they don't talk to people about it, they don't get any help for it.
Right.
Not like there's not a lot of helpful things to do for it in
No,
the
yeah.
first place.
I also feel like suicidal thoughts and like depression can be one of those things where it's really hard to get rid of. It's not something that you like, oh, it's like cancer, it doesn't go into remission. You struggle with it the rest of your life, especially like long-term depression that's not, like after a car accident, a lot of people get depressed. After like certain events, people get depressed, but like chronic long-term depression isn't something that just kind of you talk therapy it out and then all of a sudden you're better. Like it's going to be something you're going to work through forever, and you either win and you die of some other cause or you kill yourself.
Yeah. And people don't realize that there's a very scientific explanation behind depression. It's a chemical imbalance, and those chemicals in your head decide how you deal with certain life events. So you could put 2 people in the same room that have had the same exact events happen to them, and one of them could deal with them better than the other. not because they're stronger of any sort, well, just because they were born with, you know, a certain amount of chemicals that outweigh certain others. And those people are psychopaths. Stay away from those happy people.
We don't talk to them.
Don't associate.
It will kill you in your sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy.
Yeah, but that all being said, like it gets very personal for a lot of people, and like I'd like to know, like probably all have some bit, but like what are your personal experiences with dealing with or having depression and or suicidal thoughts?
What's first?
Oh man.
I can go.
All right.
I guess I would start with my mom. They always say that your story starts with your parents because you kind of started with your parents. My mom has a really like long history of many mental just like issues, like depression, suicide, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, like you name it, she's probably had it at least once. And so growing up, she was just very frank with me about a lot of stuff, and like, you know, if it was a bad day, she would just say it's a bad day. And, you know, I was really young when she just explained to me all of those like feelings and how that, like, she was like, yeah, no, sometimes mommy hears things that aren't there, and it's okay. She's not scary. It's just she takes her medicine and she'll be all right. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so then when I got older and I started experiencing similar things, not like the hearing and like the schizophrenia, but like just being depressed and feeling like, you know, wow, I really don't want to get out of bed today and I don't know why, or I don't understand why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I was expecting to kind of lean on her a lot and be like, yes, you will understand what I'm feeling, but because she was dealing with it through her own lens, she just kind of, you know, couldn't with me, and so that like made it worse, and just things never got better. So from the time of like 5th grade on, I can distinctly remember 5th grade being the year where I was like, wow, I hate my life. And it didn't get better, and to the point I was like, I think the first time I was actually like suicidal, I didn't even know I was suicidal. My parents, we lived on the 12th floor of an apartment building after our house had burned down, and my stepmom had just had another baby, and we were living in a 2-room apartment with like, it was me, my sister, who's significantly younger than me, our grandmother, both of my parents, and an infant. And I was a freshman in high school. So I was like,
wow,
beyond stressed, beyond everything, and they banned me from the balcony. I think that's the first time I knew I was, because they were like, we're afraid you'll jump, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that I would. And I was like, no, you're probably right, I shouldn't go out on the balcony.
Yeah, right.
And I remember I'd broken up with my first girlfriend, and I was sitting in the living room, and there was some thunder, a clash of lightning, and they thought it was the sliding door of the balcony, and my stepmom rushes out, and she like, and like, it's all dramatic, and I can like, there were lightning flashing on her face, and I saw the genuine fear that she thought I would have done something like that, and I was like, I should probably go get help.
Maybe, yeah. It's an idea.
You know, I personally, it's much less so. Like, I've never seen a doctor about it for like clinical depression or anything, but I have a long history with self-harm and suicidal thoughts, stemming back to middle school, 7th grade. I had just moved to Virginia because my mom's in the military, so we move around constantly. And we were in Oklahoma for 4.5 years, which is the longest I've ever lived in one place. But we just got to Virginia at 7th grade, so everyone in middle school already knew each other.
It's middle school,
it's
man.
the worst. And in the 2nd semester, it was just really rough because I did a dumb. I thought I would be a cool, edgy kid, and I brought a knife to school one day. And some kid said that they were going to tell a teacher, so I hid it in a drainage pipe outside the school. And like before the first class even started, the vice principal came up to me. He's like, "Hey, we need to talk." I'm like, "Yep, cool." And long story short, I got off lucky because it was my first offense. So he was like, "You should be expelled, but we're going to give you a 9-week suspension." And so I came back the final quarter, and everyone was like, "Oh no, not the final quarter, the 2nd semester," because I missed the 2nd quarter of school. came back the second semester. Was like, oh my god, you do still live here, and it was pretty good. And after that, it was just rough because it was a lot of weird stuff. Like, it was the first and only time I've ever experienced this happening. But I was standing in line for lunch one day, and this one girl, she was like, "Who are you? I don't think I've ever met you before." And I know a lot of people. I'm like, "Oh, I'm Ben Smith." She's like, "Oh, I've heard of you." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" Huh? And didn't elaborate. And after that, there were a couple people who just called me the emo kid because I brought a knife one day, and I was like, "Oh." And I learned about self-harm, and I was like, "Huh, that's weird." And there was one day I took the little razor out of a pencil sharpener and
Aww,
use
everyone's
that.
first razor.
Yep.
And we were going to an amusement park, and it was before I learned how to like hide it properly, so I was just like awkwardly sitting because I was going to meet up with some friends there, but we had to take a little tram from like the parking lot to the front gate, and I was like sitting with my arms like at my sides trying to hide it. My dad like at a glance saw it, and he was like, he leaned over, it's like, we need to talk. And I was like, and I looked down at my arm like, shit.
Yeah.
And it was right outside an amusement park too. Like, he was like, I'm gonna send you off with your friends, but I need to know if I ever see that again, I'm going to like get you help. So please just like tell me. I'm like, okay. And I became much better at hiding it.
There you go. Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
No.
It doesn't
You
stop.
didn't need help.
No.
Yeah, it continued through 7th to 10th grade, just periodically. And 10th grade was when I stopped using razors because I lost him. I lost one and never found it again. But I found a solution in senior year, because I had just gotten out of a very toxic relationship. But good that I got out of it, but at the time I was really pissed.
Oh yeah.
And we were living in Germany at the time, and we had this spare rug in the carpet just because the dogs pissed on it all the time, and it was all rolled up and everything.
Yeah.
And so I went down there and I blasted Avenged Sevenfold because that just amplifies any emotion I'm feeling.
yeah.
Wow.
And I wailed on the carpet with my bare fists.
You are the emo kid.
Like 30 minutes later, just the carpet had like a giant patch of blood on it. And I looked at my hands and it was bloody and everything. And now you look at my knuckles, they've got like little pink marks everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my dad talked to me the next day. He's like, "So what's up with that red stuff on the carpet?" I'm like, And he's like, "Don't do it again." I'm like, "Fine." I did it again. He's like, "What the heck, man?" I'm like, "Sorry."
I eat my French fries over the carpet and I spill the ketchup on it. I'm sorry, Dad.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
What about you, Nathan?
but
Oh,
yeah.
you're not done.
But yeah, that's most of my self-harm, and of course, suicidal thoughts sprinkled around that as well. But yeah, that's the gist of my shtick.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in a stable 2-parent home. No, I didn't. Mine are from my dad. My dad was very abusive to me when I was a very young child. Very young child. And thinking I wouldn't remember it stopped at a certain age, because like this is the age where he starts remembering things. I'm gonna stop. No, I remember all of it. Mainly because I thought he was great, even though I only saw him I guess I saw him a bit when I was a kid, and then for a while I didn't see him at all, and I would tell kids that my dad was dead, because
I don't know, probably.
I don't know where he's at. He probably is, because he's not home. But then I remember running into him again when I was in 1st grade, and this horrible thing started, and we would see him sometimes a lot, sometimes not at all, and we would stay at his house at weekends and stuff, and it was horrible, and I can never blame my mom for that at all, because like she saw that her kids were different, like both of her boys, because I have an older brother. She saw that both of her boys were different, and I guess maybe not having a dad could have had something to do with that, and so we started seeing each other. I guess that's where I met my sisters. In this time period, I had a little sister, my little sister Adelaide, who I love. I couldn't stand the other ones, but I love Addie. And then he kind of just dropped out around Christmas one year, and I didn't see him after that. And I don't know. I kind of grew up after that happened, because I was like, okay, I don't have a dad. And then I turned 13, and I started having these nightmares. And these nightmares were vicious. In these nightmares, he was murdering my mother. And like they started settling down, but they started becoming more realistic. In these nightmares, he was hitting my mother, he was hitting my brother, he was hitting me, he was burning cigarettes on my back. I approached somebody about this, and they happened. They were memories, and they were in my brain, in a certain part of my brain that did not want to come out, and I was having all these emotional problems, and I didn't know why. So at some point, when I would become vulnerable in my sleep, my brain would start to show me why, and I didn't talk about it for a year. And at some point, I had to tell my mother, because I was about to kill myself, because I couldn't sleep at all. And it made me partially mute sometimes. I would develop a stutter. I have facial tics because of it, and I have a nightmare every single night. And that's why I sleep under my bed. And that's why I sleepwalk too. But when it comes to self-harm, I've always self-harmed.
Yeah, same.
My knuckles. I don't punch things. I rip them apart. And it's therapy because I can't feel it in the moment, and then I feel it later.
That's how it is.
And that's why I keep doing it, because I can't feel it in the moment. I've gotten really good about it now. I have scars because of it at this point. But up until I was 20, I would do it all the time. I still do it. I find myself doing it. I bite my nails until they bleed, which is a problem. And sometimes if I'm having a bad enough nightmare, I'll rip my scalp open, like in the back. And it happened over break. And I woke up and my hair felt disgusting. And I was just like, oh, I'm gross. So I went to take a shower and I thought, oh, that hurts. Oh my God, that stings. Ah! And, get it off. But it's nightmares for me, mainly about my dad, because as an adult, I realize I've not spoken to him as an adult. And sometimes I'll have this dream that he dies, and I'll have never spoken to him as an adult. And then that sucks. And I do want to call him at some point and just tell him, hey, this is me. All right, see ya. And get that out of the way. But I don't know. As an adult now, the only thing that really bothers me is that he is still alive. I know he is. I know right where he lives right now. And he's still out of my life through his own choice, which is a good thing. But sometimes I don't understand that some things are good things.
Yeah.
I have attempted suicide twice. Sleeping pills don't really work on me. I've taken a lot in a period of time. I think 2 packs at once of ZQL. And this is when I was on heavy steroids, so that's why they didn't work, because I tore open my diaphragm. But and then I was going to throw myself off of this cliff ledge in Springfield, and I tripped, and I didn't fall all the way. So I just kind of busted my ass up, and then I thought, I'm going to call suicide hotline, see what they can make of this. I called them. The woman said, hi, how are you doing? And I said, I'm okay. But I'm having some problems here. And I kind of want to talk about it. She said, okay, what's going on? And I said, I just got out of a horrible relationship, and I said, I just got out of a relationship, and I just tried to do something stupid, but it didn't work. At most, I'm going to have a cut on my knee. And I think if I'm about to try it, I think I should talk to somebody. Yeah. And she said, so do you want to kill yourself? And I said, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm calling you.
Yeah, I do. And she said, oh, well, don't do that. And I didn't know what to say. And then after maybe almost a minute of silence, she said, do you feel better? And I said, mm-hmm. And I just hung up. What the fuck? And then I just kind of lied there for a little bit. Yeah. And then I got up and I went home. And went back to my apartment and fell asleep. It was fine. But yeah, those are issues I still deal with. And I've gotten really good at dealing with them. I don't become too emotional about it at times. Rachel, you saw me second circle breathe once, and I didn't break. I almost broke. I
broke for you.
You heard it in my voice, but I kept it. Not
that
today.
Was a good thing. That wasn't the point.
Yeah, I know. And but I kept it, and I'll keep it. You know, I don't see myself committing suicide unless I've got like an incurable disease, because that's not how I want to die.
I've always just rationalized through it, which is like a shitty thing to say. Like, I know that if I killed myself, my mom would kill herself because she wouldn't.
Oh
know.
yeah. Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
that leaves my brother. Like I've just been like, my problem has never been that people don't care about me enough or I don't feel loved. I know all of these things. It's just that existing burns.
Yeah.
Like the fact, like one of our teachers today was talking about, like, you don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about, like, I have to think about breathing. I have to force myself to breathe in and breathe out, because if I just wouldn't, I would stop existing because it hurts too bad.
Exactly.
So it's never been like I don't like in that, like, I understand those genuine feelings of like I don't feel like anyone would miss me. I know people would, but is it worth? Do I care enough about those people for me to keep living?
That's the thing, is like everybody, they're like, oh, think of your friends and family, which entails your grandma, your aunt, your cousins and stuff. And I think of select people. Like, of course I think of my friends and family. It would suck. They would still live. But it would just be like breaking, or like maybe if they lost a finger, they can still live. It won't be the same.
Yeah.
And that's fine for me. But I think of my mom, my brother, my little sister Addie, and my cat. How would my cat understand that I killed myself? Right. She would just think, he's never coming home. She probably thought I died when I left for college. Because what else is she going to think? Oh, he's going to college, you know?
Yeah, get that degree, boy.
Seriously, yeah. Wish I could do that, but I'm a fucking cat.
What about you, Alexis? You're the only one that hasn't.
Yeah.
Like, while you was talking, I was trying to think of, like, if I could remember when it started, and I know it started in 5th grade, and I think it just really crept up on me one winter, and, like, because, like, I started, like, I would stay up all night for some reason, and then I would, like, just, like, I didn't know why I was still awake, I just couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And I would just, like, turn on my little booklight, and I just, like, watercolor, and it just would kind of just turn into, like, mushes of color, and have like the radio on, and I just wouldn't feel anything, and I was like, I don't know why I'm not feeling anything. And I would like my window led to the roof of the garage, and like when it snowed, I would just smell like the metal of the window screen and the snow, and like I would just sit there until I got like too cold to move, and I'd have to like get up. And like it was in the like middle of 5th grade that I realized I was probably depressed. Because I was on safety patrol, which is like this thing where like when you're like in elementary school, you like put on those reflective vests and like watch kids across the street when they walk home.
Monitor.
Yeah. So I was one of those kids, and like it was like the dead of winter, and I was like wearing skirts and shorts because like I wasn't feeling anything, and like being cold was the only feeling that I had, and I was like, that's why the cold doesn't bother me anymore. I say it's because I'm from Nebraska. I just spent a whole year of like school just without any winter protection. And then like that was the same year that like the first time I was like, I wonder what it would be like to kill yourself, and I like looked at where I would do it because it was on the playground, and I was like, that's a decent spot. I like that spot because it was like this corner where the storm drain was, but I really liked it because like all of like the weeds grew there, and I like would make shit out of the weeds, like just random stuff. And so like it was my favorite spot. I was like, if I was gonna kill myself, I'd do it there. And then I moved on, but then like I also started self-harming in 5th grade, like cutting. And my dad found out because one of my class had found out, and then one of them told the teacher, who told the principal, called my dad. And like we were driving.
I was so pissed.
And like I remember like the counselor took me out of the principal's office to go get a drink of water, and I turned back, and my dad's like crying in his hands. So like they don't know now because they did the thing where like we will get you help, but I knew that they didn't have the money for it, but they would do it anyways, and I was like, I can't tell them.
Yeah.
So they still don't know.
I don't know. I started cutting when I was in like towards the end of high school, towards the end of middle school, beginning of high school. But I remember like even when I was younger, just because of the environment and like the way that, especially I'm half Ghanaian, and so just the way that they handle mental health is you stop. You don't get to, you know how like when a child is like, they're upset but they've agreed to stop crying about it, but they're still you can tell they're upset. I was not allowed to be upset. If you said you were fine, you better be fine, and goddamn it, you better be fine. And so I just didn't know how to like ride the wave of an experience, and like that thing made me have an emotion, process it, and move on. Like I just stopped. and so I would bang my head against things when nobody was looking, or I would, twist my nails into my thigh, or like do something to feel and get, use a physical way to get it out, and I would like bite up and down like the insides of my forearms till they bled, till they like bruised, and I would always say I bruise easy anyway, so I would just say I fell, or
yeah.
I'm kind of surprised my parents weren't like, she's like 6 and she's biting like chunks out of her arm. Maybe there's something going on.
Yeah. I was a very angry child all the time. Like I was mean. I was an asshole to many family members as growing up, and that's why there's certain family members, very close family members, that I wish I could speak to that would want to speak with me, but we just don't, and I don't think we ever will. Yeah, it was very I mean, for the people that knew what had happened, so not me, it was very explanational, That's why he is the way he is. That's why he's so pissed all the time.
Yeah.
For me, I had no idea. I thought I was just a mean person. I just thought I had a bad temper. But, I mean, it wasn't anger out of, being pissed off. It was anger because I was confused.
Yeah.
And small things really irritated me, I mean, noises and visual stuff. And, and it got way out of control at some point. And every now and again it still does. Like, I'll just get so pissed off. And it's weird. And generally people always think that I'm a pissed person because I look pissed. I'm usually not. Right. I just have a pissed face, I guess. Yeah. But looking back, it does explain a lot of things I did as a child. Yeah. Like a lot of things that I would write down or draw, and the way that I would act towards friends and family. I don't know why I did until I learned until I was able to cope with what would happen. Yeah. I was 19, and when I was 19 is really when I just started thinking, okay, it happened, and I for the most part need to get over it. It just turned me into kind of a bitter and sensitive person at times. If somebody pisses me off, they piss me off and I'm done with them. That's why in the first 10 minutes, I think I have someone figured out, and that's the impression on me forever. And it just, and nothing can change that. Yeah. Regardless of, anything. And I feel bad for that because it makes me selfish and I don't give people a chance, but that's just how it works with me, unfortunately. Because I jump to conclusions, because if I let this person in, they're going to piss me off, so just shut down immediately, fuck you, get out of my life, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I was very slow to anger and break, but it started happening like more and more often, and my fuse just got like shorter and shorter as I started growing up, and eventually just you see me now. I get weird sometimes. I get malicious. Like there's some times now where I just feel malicious out of nowhere. Like last night in particular, I was just feeling very mean, and I didn't know why, and I just knew it's like I can't be around my friends or else I will be a dick to them.
I get you. Oh my gosh.
And like particularly there was over summer there was a thing that caused me to go on a mean streak, and it was the death of a well-known musician, Chester Bennington.
Yeah.
Lead singer of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Every depressed kid has like a Linkin Park song.
I'd shit on Linkin Park, but I would be nowhere without them.
Yeah.
Literally.
Especially because it was so surprising to me, and it angered me because he was such a strong advocate for awareness prevention.
Yeah.
And then he did it on his own.
Apparently.
I know!
They reopened the thing, and they're like, we don't think he killed himself. We think... Regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah.
At the moment, at the time of this recording, December 5th, 2017.
Wow.
Do you have today's newspaper to hold up?
Thumbnail.
But, yeah, it just made me real angry, and I shut off from my family for a good few days. And I don't even remember that period of time really well, just because I didn't want to think.
Yeah.
I have some questions. So, like, there's a big difference between, like, neurotypical and, like, all of my friends growing up had shit going on, and they were upset, and they were angry, and they thought the same way I did. Like, all of my friends cut, all of my friends, like, it became like a community. And so when I met people that just didn't have those issues, like my boyfriend is like way more neurotypical than I am, and that it frustrates me.
Yeah.
And he has his own issues, but he deals with them in like a pretty healthy way. Like this year was like the first time that he had ever like said that he felt like he wanted to die. And I was like, I don't know. I don't remember a time well enough where I didn't have those thoughts.
Yeah.
So what is it like to be like, for you guys to interact with like neurotypical people and be like, you're probably, you know,
yeah.
not like me.
I don't know how to explain it. I can. The best example is my friend Adarius, our friend Adarius.
Yeah.
Because he's a very religious person, and he's most likely very neurotypical.
Right.
And it's pretty often that he's just like, guys, I'm just having a real rough day, and by the end of the day he goes like, you know, it was a pretty rough day and it was pretty bad, but I'm still here and I'm having a good time. And it's like, I don't know how you can get over something that fast.
It's a dangerous human being right there.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's one of those things where I just have like innate trust issues, and I can't trust myself to be fine with something.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that makes me sketchy about them. Like, I don't know if you're telling me the truth right now.
Yeah,
but you're
yeah.
really okay.
It's hard to be like content. Like, if something isn't on fire, is it really my life? Like,
Yeah.
Like, and even if nothing's happening right now, you're waiting for the next thing to happen because you know it's gonna wreck you. And the fact that you can just be like, you know, it was a hard day, but I'm fine now. Like, you're
No,
gonna die.
that's not how I end the day.
Yeah.
God, I'm very good friends with somebody who is a lot like that. You know, he's got his own issues, and I've seen them unfold. And his girlfriend once made a remark on it, and she just asked him, "Why are you so happy all the time?" And he
I don't want to be mean, but why are you happy? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, he said, you know, if I'm stressed out, I think there's lots of things that could be worse, and I just keep calm, and I just go through it, and by the end of it, I feel better. And I'm just like, what? You don't need alcohol?
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah. But and sometimes, and you know, like I said, he's got his own problems, and sometimes stuff really gets to him, but generally he lives to make people laugh, and he makes himself laugh, and he sees the better picture of things, and you know, he's in a good place right now. And I can't help but think I would be too. But and then, you know, I worked with somebody briefly he worked for like 2 weeks, and then he just bailed. But what was his name? I can't remember it. I just remember there was another coworker whose name was the same thing that I also can't remember, but they had the same name. He came up to me, and he was not religious, but he loved studying religion, and he was that guy, and he was a little pretentious about it, but he was fine nonetheless. We got along, and he asked me, you know, what do you do to keep happy? And I said, I don't. And he told me, you know, man, I just wake up every day and I imagine how this day is going to be fantastic. I said, nothing makes you sad? And he said, no. I just said, why not? What's wrong with you? And, you're defective. But he never explained that. Like, he never gave me an explanation. So I just think there is none, and he's a psychopath, and he's going to kill everybody. And
It's fine. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Take me on a date.
I'm
Sniper rifle. I don't care.
Just going to keep, once I remember his name, I'm just going to type it into Google every day and see if it comes up on this man shot a bunch of people. Well, I knew it.
Yeah. There's also, you meant, to call back a little bit earlier, you mentioned that you called the suicide hotline before, and it was a weird interaction.
One of the strangest in my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that just reminds me of a song released by, I think, Logic in April. The title of the song is the Suicide Hotline.
Suicide Hotline, yeah.
And I watched the music video for that last night because Brett was telling me about it before. And I don't want to say it's a beautiful music video, but it's beautiful in how it depicts this story of this boy, and it's got fantastic quality. Like, Don Cheadle's in it as the dad.
All right.
Yeah,
All right, then.
like he's it's this black boy, and he's there, and he's like on sports teams and whatnot, and it shows like the first verse of the song is from the perspective of someone who wants to die. They're calling suicide hotline. They're explaining, I want to die. I want to kill myself. I don't want to be here anymore. And this whole time it's showing this kid when he's in his happy phase, and it shows him like having this handshake with one of his sports buddies, and it's going on for real long, and they're making this eye contact, and you're like, is he gay?
Yeah.
And then it ends, and he goes home, and his you don't really catch it at first, but his dad like throws this weird magazine on the newspaper because it doesn't like show the magazine well enough, but he just looks like just tired.
Yeah.
And as the son walks in, and he sees that the dad like has the magazine, put it on the paper, and then the son just runs out of the house, and he runs to his friend's house and has dinner with his family.
It's gonna be gay, and I can feel it, and I love it.
Yeah, and
me too.
It skips to the next morning. Like the dad goes into his son's room, wake him up for school, and they're both in the same bed together. And his friend's dad is just like closes the door, and he just has to stand outside for a bit.
Closes the door.
And, yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, you're like, oh, he is gay, and he's very self-conscious about it, and he's not secure, and he thinks his dad doesn't like him for this, so he runs away from home. And then he thinks that his boyfriend's dad fucking hates him now, so he rushes to get all his stuff, and he's going to like try and leave, and then he like drops his stuff in front of like the dad, and then his boyfriend's dad just like picks it up, hands it to him very nicely, and just like gently walks him out. And it's got this montage, and at this point in the song, it's the second verse where it's the person on the suicide hotline explaining. It's like, you don't need to do this, it will all get better. You know, it's like, I don't remember the words exactly because I was focusing on the story too much.
Right, yeah.
But it's this montage of him still like not going home and like trying to get by for a few weeks, and eventually his coach like pulls him aside. He's like, hey, is everything going all right? And you know, he lets him like stay in the school gym for a while, and then the coach like
Very illegal.
yeah,
But
no,
okay.
but the coach like calls the dad and like has a talk with the dad, and the dad's like, oh, I didn't realize he was struggling through this so much. And then it skips to, and you know, it shows like
Just come home for a week. I didn't know that he was struggling.
it didn't know what he was struggling like with, but yeah.
Right.
And then it shows like him like seeing his son again, and just pulls him in for this hug.
Oh.
And it skips to like years later when it's like it just shows like two hands like married, and it zooms out and it's like grown up the dude, the first boy, and like maybe the first boyfriend. But yeah, and like the dad's really like supportive and like crying for him and everything now. And then it skips to another point where like they have like a little baby, like, you know, artificial insemination and everything.
Cute.
And like Don Cheadle, the dad's still there, and he's just like crying because he's so happy. He's got a grandson now, and it's a fantastic music video.
That's
And
nice.
Have you
Yes.
seen Moonlight?
I
No,
want to.
I want
Ah,
to.
it's so good. It's so good. Okay, it's just
Fuck La La Land.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize because I mean it's not something I think about, but
Right.
like it's very hard to be gay even today. You know, maybe even a little bit harder. But the director of Moonlight I realized he wanted to make a message on how it's even harder to be gay in a city black community, and he depicts this character just hearing all these guys calling him all these stereotypes when he's in school, and he doesn't know what they mean. And when he finds out what they mean, he's like, why is that bad? Why is it bad to be
Yeah.
gay? Then he starts thinking, I might be gay.
Shit.
And it starts to mess with him horribly because he's also dealing with his drug addicted mom, and like it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
I was in emotional pieces by the end of it, but yeah, that's what that makes me think of is you know, stuff like that. People don't realize how hard it is.
So why do you think it's hard? Like, our acting teacher always talks about like how people don't want to feel bad emotions.
Mhm.
They do things, especially in the Western culture, just constantly to try to keep from feeling
Mhm.
bad feelings. And so, like, why do you think, if it is such a common way to feel, why is it still so hard to talk about it?
Well, I had to stop myself from saying simple things. Poison in the air and the earth is flat. But actually, it's hard to talk about because in the Western society of cowboys and soldiers, nobody wants to look weak.
That's true.
And if you look weak, then you are weak, I guess,
Yeah.
is the point. And if people see your frailties, then they know how to pick on you, and that's how it goes. Like, it comes out of truth, and because people are naturally horrible, and and I don't know if it is larger in Western society, but people just want to pick on you, and it's because they have their own stuff to deal with, and that's how they deal with it, and that's wrong. But yeah, nobody wants to look weak, and certain things are weak
I think it does.
for
like,
some reason.
When people are like, oh, they just want to pick on you to make themselves feel better. Like, that's true.
That
though.
is true, yeah.
People feel better if you feel like you've conquered over someone.
Yeah, and that's
like, which is horrible and like not good, but
Mhm.
definitely a truth of
That-
human nature, I think, or as far as our society is.
And that comes from evolution.
Yeah.
You know, and regardless of what somebody's creative beliefs are, if you're watching the Nature Channel and you see a male lion kill another male lion and completely take his, girlfriends and stuff,
Like,
I bet he feels pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? I bet he feels really good. And humans are no different. We can just speak. That's it. But yeah, certain things are weak. Even if you've conquered suicide and your emotions, if you can deal with them, well, you've had those emotions, so you're weak. I can't understand the stoic people that never talk about how they're feeling about things. That just makes me think, you've got a lot of insecurities. Would you like a hug?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I want to be.
That's all I wanna be,
genuinely-
yeah.
Exactly. Like, I want to be stoic. I
Yeah.
don't talk about things that actually bother me. Like, if you want to talk about sad things that happen to me, like, I'm fine with it.
Me too,
'Cause
yeah.
I don't care. But like, if you wanted to actually talk about something that was like actually struck a chord with me, we wouldn't. I don't even get into those situations
no.
where those things can happen, which is why being an actor
Yeah.
is literally the worst. Because he's
Yeah.
like, go there. Let's talk about that. I'm like, I don't.
Ugh.
No. But like, all I've ever wanted to be was like calm and quiet and stoic. And people think that I'm, like a healthy, strong. Like they hear all these things that I've gone through, like. Your house burned down, and your parents are divorced, and you're blah 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 blah. They're like, how can you do that? How are you so strong? And all I can see in myself is being so incredibly weak and so incredibly small,
Yeah,
which is crazy to me.
I get that. After I lost the weight, I started having these really odd body perception issues. Because for a while, I lost 120 pounds. For a while, I was like, hell yeah, I'm dieting, I'm exercising, look at me, I'm starting to look good. And at some point, I just went back, and I was like, oh no, I'm gaining the weight again. And so I like hid my scale, and I never used it, and I would constantly start, freaking exercising, and I would bike 30 miles a day, and I would eat nothing but fruit and vegetables, and I think I ate turkey at the most, maybe twice a week. And this was from October of 2015 to February of 2016. And nothing changed. And it was horrible. And so I stopped eating entirely. And then it got worse.
Yeah.
I was gaining so much weight.
Your body is like, I
Yeah.
need to hang on to all of this
And
because we're dying.
I went over to see a very good friend of mine, and her older brother looked at me and he said, what the fuck happened? And I said, I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. And he said, you look like you're sick. And I had no idea what he was talking about. And to this day, I don't know what he's talking about because I can't see it. And that gives me a lot of problems. Every now and again, if I see myself in like a distorted reflection, like a car window, I just like, what? And I'll look at myself in the mirror immediately and then nothing. And so it's insane.
In the dance hall, there's a line where the two mirrors meet, and if you stand in it, it makes your body like wider. And I have to like remember because I'm like, food and me don't really like.
Same, yeah.
But like, your brain is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, if I could be a machine, I just would. Like,
Same,
me,
yeah.
Automate my ass, and I would much rather be productive than like an actual human with emotions.
Yeah, whenever I had last weighed myself, I was about 210 pounds, and I broke out the scale again a couple months before I moved and into Springfield, and I was 145, and I didn't believe it. And it took, like, I had to go to the hospital because I had a very bad chest injury from, because I started weightlifting to try and make myself feel better. And the doctor told me that I was severely dehydrated. And they had to put, like, 3 bags of saline in me or something just to get me regulated. And they saw my records from at one point, because I hadn't gone to the doctor in like 2 years. At one point, I was 275 pounds. And then I'm coming in and I'm 145. What happened? And
She started doing
especially
hair
this was in the span of like a little over a year. And the doctor asked me, so what? You must exercise a lot. I said, kind of. And she said, what are your eating patterns? And I said, not great. And she started asking me these questions about how do you feel? And I was like, what are you trying to imply? And
what are you trying to do here?
she diagnosed me with genuine body dysmorphia with anorexic eating patterns, and I'm better now. And it still upsets me sometimes. And whenever I call myself fat, I'm not joking. But everybody's like, oh, stop that. No, seriously, shut up. But I eat fine now. In fact, I eat a lot. And I still try to exercise regularly. I lift weights and stuff, but I mean, it still fucks with me every day.
But yeah, that's another thing. We can talk about body images next time.
Mm-hmm. On the next
It's
episode.
also another episode.
Yeah, next episode.
But yeah, because I'm running low on
Yeah,
time.
you got to go to
Yes.
rehearsal.
Thank you, everyone. If you tuned in, if you do experience if this has helped you in any way, happy to be of service. If it somehow helps, sure, cool.
And call the hotline.
Yeah,
Call the
please
Because
call.
there's people there that know what
Yeah,
they're
the
doing.
hotline,
Yeah.
1-800-273-8255.
Mhm.
But yeah, so hope you enjoy the rest of your day, week, month, year, life,
Yes.
whatever it is. Bye.